called by many names. The silent generation, the waiting generation, the shook-up generation, the go generation. But only one name has stuck. Beat. You're the beat generation.
The CBS television network presents Look Up and Live. Today, the first in a new series of programs on three young men whose behavior exposes the dilemma of their generation. The delinquent, the hipster, and the square. Our narrator is Dr. William Kirkland, professor of Christian ethics at McCormick Theological Seminary.
Each new generation believes it has inherited the worst of all possible worlds. And each new generation, in turn, is accused of being worse than the one before. Neither, of course, is true. But it is true that those of you who are numbered among the present younger generation are growing up in the midst of crises and revolutions that have shaken the foundations of our world. Somehow you must come to terms with a society that is shot through with moral absurdities, a society which you do not understand and which you often feel does not understand you. Here are three members of your generation, the delinquent, the hipster, and the square. No one of them is entirely typical of all of you, and yet, in the extreme reactions of each one, a bright light is thrown upon the pressures that all of us feel. For that reason, it's important that we listen to what they have to say.
Well, this is our chance to say what we think.
Then make with it, man.
You see, I don't know where to begin.
Let's hear some more of that jazz.
Why not now?
Why not?
Well, I think one of us should speak up.
Okay, man. Speak up.
Don't antagonize.
I don't antagonize nothing, man. I'm playing. Down, man.
Do you have anything to say?
Only squares make speeches.
Well, there's something I'd like to say.
That's what I mean.
I think basically we're no different from any other generation.
He means we ain't got two heads.
And with a little understanding...
Oh, stop it, man.
Well, stop what?
This understanding, King. Nobody's got time to understand. Do you understand our friend here?
Well, I don't know.
He don't know you. Go on, man. Introduce yourself. Now, you understand him?
There are laws about such things.
That's showing real understanding, man.
Never mind him. Hey, what about you?
What about me?
Don't you believe in anything?
Sure.
Well, what?
Me?
And that's all.
What else? What do you believe in?
I'd rather not say.
Not, man. You ain't under oath.
Well, never mind.
What are you afraid of?
Well, don't you know?
Hey, look, man, don't ask me to dig your troubles. I got enough of my
Then
own.
I have nothing more to say.
Square. Real square.
The delinquent, the hipster, and the square go their separate ways, each seeking an individual escape from fear, boredom, and despair. Each is searching for some kind of refuge from the shattering headlines that all of us pretend to shrug off. The bold black announcements of war, destruction, death have been stamped upon the calendars of their lives. Is it any wonder, then, that some youth have reacted with violence? longer put all the blame for their crimes on slums and poverty. The rebellion of the delinquent has a far deeper source. Jazz is a music which burst forth and found its own form. Jazz is a music of improvisation and inner freedom. Jazz erupted out of the music of the American Negro, who was born into a society over which he had no control, who had to live with danger every day of his life. This is the music of your generation. The hipster does not react to the music openly. He claims to be beyond the reach of any stimulus. Similarly, the hipsters rarely dance, for dancing is a social act. Not that these young people are antisocial. They're merely passive. They consider any attachment to others, any argument or violence, as strictly square.
Man, their way out.
Dear God. What's your location now?
I'm flying to Barbados.
Barbados. Black shoe.
Now we're on sand.
Tourists. And creeps.
Dragging you're on.
What's in Barbados?
Me. Plenty of sand and me.
Crowded.
You just don't dig it, chick. And their way out.
Some of these terms are understandable. To dig is to understand. Black shoe is formal and sober. A drag is a burden. But the hipsters claim that their language cannot be learned as such. It must rise up out of one's own feelings and emotions. And just as the hipster has fashioned his own music and his own language, so also has he fashioned his own literature, a literature which claims to express the deepest feelings of your generation, though all of you may not agree and some of you may express these feelings differently. At any rate, it's a music that speaks out from San Francisco and New York and other major cities across the country.
At the latest count, 175 million. Dead. All dead. Going now, paying later. Going now, paying later. Going now, paying later. Going now, paying later. All dead. Except you and me. And the buxom blonde shaping our destinations on every billboard. And the teething rings guaranteed to last till middle age. And the 8-lane highways ending in driving movies we've seen before. You and me. We are the pioneers of the calorie count and the ink blot test. The stars are labeled firm in place. The moon is close at hand. The sunrise, air conditioned. And all are dead but you and me. No one cares but me.
In different ways, both the delinquent and the hipster are attempting to break with the life of organized society. They believe that their only hope for salvation lies in cutting themselves off from the dull routines of our common life, because these actions are becoming more standardized every day. And so the rebellion of the delinquent and the hipster takes the form of abandon and emotional excesses. Their elders look on and shake their heads in despair. The delinquent, the hipster, and the square seem poles apart, and yet they're all a part of the same generation, facing the same predicament in the same society. And actually, they're taking similar back roads out of that predicament, roads of self-centeredness and detachment, cutting themselves off from any real involvement in the great human issues facing our world. And so we put this question directly to you, the youth of our land. In all three of these patterns of response, is not your generation in danger of dissipating its emotional power and defeating itself? Make no mistake about it, the emotional power is there. The driving beat of your rock and roll, the dazzling speed of your hot rod, yes, even your emotional excesses and your violence. All of these things may have a depth of meaning to you that the unsympathetic adult may not grasp. Yet, your generation can become strong and creative only if you find a new center of your life, a more authentic emotion. Such a new love, if it's the right one, will reclaim your emotional power from these back roads where it is now being squandered. But first, your generation must find a rallying point. And before the members of your generation